Thank you very much for being on the program. For years and years, I've enjoyed your movies. They're always entertaining, really interestingly entertaining, and usually in a different...
Lights dim, the projector hums. You lean forward. The screen flickers with old titles. Sunset Boulevard, Rear Window, 8½. These aren't just names. They are the movies David Lynch confessed he could see again and again. Films that haunt him. Films that taught him something about cinema's strange power. Over the years, in interviews and essays, Lynch revealed a cluster of films that rank among his favorites. These 7 shaped him, thrilled him, awed him, inspired him. Below, a journey through those 7 films, what Lynch said about them, what they contain, why they resonated, script style, like stories waiting to be lived again. 1. 8½, 1963, Federico Fellini. He first saw 8½ and felt something open. It's not just a film about a director in crisis. It is cinema collapsing into dreams, into memories, into guilt, into creativity itself. Lynch said that with 8½, Fellini manages to accomplish with film what mostly abstract painters do, without ever explaining anything, just by a sort of sheer magic.
Знаешь, я поняла, что это означает. Ты не можешь обходиться без нас. Насколько...
Imagine walking through corridors of your own mind, past scenes you remember, but in fragments, seeing faces you once loved, fears you once had. In 8½, the protagonist stands lost in his creative block. When you watch it, you feel both empathy and longing. For Lynch, 8½, is one of those films he'd see every other day if I had the time. The surreal becomes comfortable. The uncomfortable becomes lucid. That balance between the dream and the real, it echoes in Lynch's own work. Not because Lynch copies Fellini, but because 8½, shows what film can be, how it can wear the skin of memory and imagination at once.
Mi sembrava una situazione così divertente. Pensavo che potesse essere la parte più buffa della mia storia. Avevo preparato...
Lynch thinks of the language between the lines as powerful. 8½, wrote that language. 2. Lolita, 1962, Stanley Kubrick. Late nights, shadows creeping, desire tangled with guilt. Lolita is provocative, forbidden, beautiful in its perversity. Lynch admired Lolita for being one of my favorite films. I don't know what words I would use. It's hilarious, but it catches hidden things. That mix, dark comedy, guilt, longing, sin coded in beauty.
Yeah, well, Roy and Rex just happened to sit down with us.
Roy and Rex?
The co-captains of the football team.
Kubrick's Lolita drapes itself in moral unease, constantly aware of looking, of shame, of the taboo. Lynch saw in Kubrick someone who could take the uncomfortable and make it stunning. Also someone able to show how internal torments can be louder than any external scream. For Lynch, Lolita is less about the scandal and more about what's underneath. Fear, shame, longing, hidden truths.
Oh, there's Mother. Let's go say hello. Hi, Mom. Oh, hello, darling.
Because of Lolita, you can see how Lynch treats desire in his films. Complicated, dangerous, beautiful, absurd. 3rd, Sunset Boulevard, 1950, Billy Wilder. Norma Desmond, the great silent star, her mansion in decay, her belief that she is still adored. Sunset Boulevard is Hollywood, but it's also the shadow side of fantasy. Lynch said he loves Sunset Boulevard and has watched it over and over. The world Billy Wilder created. That world, glorious, hollow, tragic, is something Lynch returns to. In Sunset Boulevard, people pretend, build illusions, refuse to let go. Dreams collapse. Silence screams. In Lynch's own films, the notion of a dream industry, of performance, of the spectator watching the actor watching the camera, these are recurring themes. Sunset Boulevard is a foundation. There's a mood in that film. Oppressive glamour, haunted beauty.
You're Norma Desmond. Used to be in silent pictures, used to be big.
I am big.
Lynch loves a film that can place you inside an atmosphere and not let you go. Wilder does that. Lynch felt Wilder achieved something abstract, but emotionally real. Something Wilder painted in shadows and elegant decay. 4. Rear Window, 1954, Alfred Hitchcock. Confined apartment, a broken leg, a man looking out. You as spectator looking with him. Rear Window is a study in observation, in voyeurism, in tension built from what's seen and what's not.
Oh, Stella, in economics, a kidney ailment has no relationship with the stock market, none whatsoever.
Lynch said he admires Rear Window for the way Hitchcock manages to create, or rather, recreate, a whole world within confined parameters. You never leave the apartment with Jeff, James Stewart, but the world outside his window is infinite, mysterious, terrifying. Lynch picks that kind of film, where space is limited, but imagination isn't, where the unknown lives just outside the frame, where the internal worries become external. Rear Window taught Lynch that restriction, no hurry. Lynch said Monsieur Hulot's Holiday is for the amazing point of view that Jacques Tati casts at society through it. Mon Oncle, houses that speak with their architecture, movements choreographed, absurdity in everyday life. Lynch's own films sometimes explode in surrealism. Tati's explode in detail, but detail that is quiet, detail that invites you to linger. Lynch's love of this kind of cinema shows that he wants to feel time, to smell it, to hear it. 6. The Wizard of Oz, 1939, Victor Fleming. There is not a day that goes by that Lynch says he doesn't think about The Wizard of Oz. Dorothy Tornado, Technicolor Dream, Witches, Farm, Oz. The transformation from gray reality to color fantasy, from home to otherness.
Are you a good witch or a bad witch? Who, me?
For Lynch, The Wizard of Oz is more than escapism. It's a mirror of hope, fear, transformation, fantasy turning dark. He's drawn to its split between the known and the unknown, the safe and the terribly strange beyond the rainbow. It is central myth, fearless in its imagination, dangerous in its whimsy. Also, Oz is in dialogue with Lynch's own work. Dreamlike sequences, double worlds, the patina of idealism cracking. The idea that behind the Technicolor, something might be rotten, something might be uncanny. Lynch often returns to that. The Wizard of Oz provided a template for fantasy intertwined with fear, and that spark never left him. 7. The Godfather plus other classics, not always exactly film favorites in the same way, but in many interviews, Lynch mentioned The Godfather among those he'd watch often if he could. The Godfather's about power, family, betrayal, ritual, the weight of legacy.
Make arrangements to bring him back here safely, clear of all these false charges.
Lynch's own films often explore corruption, ritual, identity. He values films not just for their narratives, but for how they feel, the mood, the world, the moral disquiet. The Godfather has all that. So when Lynch says he'd see it every other day, he isn't being casual. He's signaling that this film moves him in ways both visceral and elegant. 7 films, 7 windows into what David Lynch valued. Dream and reality, silence and noise, the hidden and the obvious, moral darkness beneath glamour, humor and absurdity, the uncanny and the ordinary. If you watch 8½, Lolita, Sunset Boulevard, Rear Window, Tati's Comedies, The Wizard of Oz, The Godfather, you begin to trace a map, not just of influence, but of Lynch's soul. In those worlds, you see how he learned to frame, to sound, to dream with film. And when you watch his own work, you see those echoes. Because for Lynch, great films aren't just stories. They're dreams you carry. And these 7 are the ones he's carried forever.